Hello, hello. Good morning, everybody. Is class ready? Looking for a little sign of a quorum. Let me just try and... Aha! Here we go. It's like the Jerry Lewis telethon. I like seeing how the numbers just climb. Fabrizio is first today. Can always count on you. And Tom Rogers. Jeff Echo Lichtenstein from Jupiter. I'm envious. Hi, Paula. Corinne from Albuquerque. Phyllis, morning. Hello, Phyllis. Phyllis Mondello. At TC, they're like 20 people ahead of you. So, hi, Doug. And Lori. Hi, gang. So, I went to bed early last night, as I am wont to do on a Friday night. And therefore, I missed the breaking story that came, at 11 o'clock last night, I guess, when word leaked that Bill Barr, representing the president, is seeking to fire the US Attorney in the Southern District of New York. So I'm scrambling a bit here, making sure that we've got the right guest for that. Of course, we're going to cover it, and that I'm read in and can add some value. Let me circle back to that, because in the title for this particular Facebook Live, I said I wanted to address the fact that tonight, think about this now, for the first time in 3 months, 19,000 people will be under the same roof. And I'm wording it carefully. I'm wording it that way because I'm well aware of people who will make the whataboutism complaint. Why is there concern about how many people Trump will attract in Tulsa tonight? Where was all that concern when people were protesting in the streets about the killing of George Floyd, and the same media that is worked up about Trump in Tulsa said nothing about that? So I want to address them both. The only place I've been this morning since leaving my house and coming to the studio was Wawa for my coffee. And this is all I did. Put this bad boy on and went in and got my coffee. Why is it such a problem for the president to tell people who are coming tonight he wants them to wear a mask? Wear a mask. We're in the midst of a pandemic. Wear a mask. Come to the rally. Wear a mask. The reason is that he perceives precaution as weakness. And he wants the split screen. He wants the split screen that will show Joe Biden with a socially distanced crowd. There's a picture that I think I'm going to use on television this morning where Biden, I think he's in Darby, for those who are local to me, was speaking at the end of the week in the outskirts of Philadelphia. And there are circles, what looks to me like circles on a gym floor, and this is where people are supposed to sit or stand. This is what I think is really going on. In the face of these surveys that show the president losing across the board in swing states and in the national survey, let me just turn down my computer for a sec. He wants the juxtaposition of Biden surrounded by no one and him surrounded by 19,000 in Tulsa, so as to say to people, don't believe the polls. Look at all these folks who have just come out in Oklahoma for me as I relaunch my campaign. So he is prioritizing the political optics over public safety. And what occurs to me is, and I'm going to say this in my opening commentary, is that recently there have been any number of instances where creativity, where ingenuity have been shown by people who have a need for large crowds to come together. And the examples that I jotted down that I'm going to get to in the opening, consider this. The NBA is soon to play an abbreviated season, and players are going to have the option of wearing a ring I forget what they call it, but it's a COVID-19 detection ring. I know it sounds crazy, like something we would have gotten in a cereal box when we were kids, right? But the NBA is thinking outside the box. The players will wear this ring, which is an early detection mechanism if you have COVID-19. Or how about this one? I talked about this on radio with TC a week or two ago. Comedian Jim Gaffigan, in the middle of July, is going to Mohegan Sun, the casino outside of Scranton, and performing. But guess how he's performing? In the parking lot, you get charged by the car. You need to stay in your car, and the cars need to be socially distanced. Okay, another very creative way of dealing with the circumstances that we have. Have you seen the imagery of so many weddings, have gotten screwed up because of the pandemic, but there was one in Washington Heights, New York, that stood out in my mind, where the couple went out into the street, nobody else is around, and the officiant, I don't know whether it was a person of faith or whether it was a good friend who was authorized to perform the task, but whoever was performing the wedding was hanging out of a fourth floor window. Or a detail I will share that I've not said anywhere. On my own program, I will reveal it today about how it's impacted me and something I've done to, seemingly do what I need to do amidst the backdrop of a pandemic involving large crowds. But let me share that with you on live television instead of doing it here, if you don't mind. So my point is what? My point is that people are being creative. The president's campaign is not being creative, and it's just a bit, I don't know what the word is. I don't know that it's ironic. It's more like stunning that for the first time in 3 months, 19,000 people will be under one roof. And what will that event be? It will be an event for the commander-in-chief where he's not wearing a mask and he's not requiring that others do so. And it's entirely deliberate for the political optics. So I want to address that, and Tim Murtaugh, who is the spokesperson for the Trump-Pence campaign, will be my guest, and we will discuss that subject. And then my friend, the law professor, a noted trial attorney, Shane Inspector, will come on, and we will talk about, because, the issue of waivers and releases, like that which people attending the Tulsa Rally have been asked to acknowledge when they click for their tickets, that issue transcends the Tulsa Rally. What should businesses do? What should your business do to protect you against litigation for spread of COVID-19 type allegations or cases? We'll have that dialogue. What should patrons do to protect themselves? What if you are asked to sign a waiver or a release? How should you react to that? We'll get into that issue as well. Okay, I then want to talk about the Rayshard Brooks case. The tragic killing of Rayshard Brooks by Atlanta police, a case that was charged with felony murder earlier this week. So 2 guests on this. One is Tanya Miller. Tanya Miller is a former federal prosecutor, a former prosecutor in Fulton County, who now is a criminal defense attorney in Atlanta. And she and I will talk about the legal issues in that case. Also, listen to this now. Rick Smith is going to join me. He is the CEO of Axon, and it is Axon that manufactured the Taser 7. The Taser 7 is what Rayshard Brooks pointed at the officer, Rolf, right before Rolf shot him. And I want to know, how does the Taser 7 work? What are its capabilities? So who better than the CEO of the company that manufactures them to come on the program? I've asked Rick Smith to bring one and give a brief tutorial. So we'll do that as well. And then I had a commentary that I was going to deliver about what it means to be proud to be an American in 2020, but I won't be able to do that because, as I say, when I awoke this morning, I learned of this story, which is that Bill Barr is seeking to fire the US Attorney for the Southern District of New York, and US Attorney Berman, appointed by President Trump, although never confirmed by the Senate. Actually, this is part of the rub. He was appointed by Jeff Sessions. And the question now becomes one of, actually, let me back up and just slow down. To critics of the president, this is perceived as yet another example of Trump and Barr upsetting the rule of law, wanting to take some type of an authoritarian stand where they control the outcome of the judicial system. And so it's interesting. It's kind of like Bolton in that, John Bolton was reviled by the left, and then he becomes a critic of the president, and all of a sudden, like the guy who had been this conservative icon now is championed by the left, and the conservatives all hate him. Well, Berman was a Trump-donating campaign supporter. And now he's at odds with the president, and it's interesting to me that people on the left are embracing him as like, oh, he's this, paragon of virtue, because now he won't leave his office. Anyway, I'm interested in the law, and what I've been doing this morning is just reading in on the applicable federal law that applies to U.S. attorneys and how they get their positions, and it's just not clear to me how this will be resolved. I don't want your eyes to glaze over right now with me reading these citations, but one of them says that a U.S. attorney is subject to removal by the president. Very straightforward. If the president wants to get rid of him, the president can get rid of him. But what's unique in this particular case is that he was appointed by the district court, formally not approved by the Senate. And so there's an argument here that because he was made the acting U.S. attorney by dint of a judicial appointment, that as per the language of another federal law, that he gets to keep serving in that position until it's filled. And that's what he's saying. He's saying, I'm not leaving until the Senate confirms my successor. Well, the Senate never confirmed him. So, what will come of this, I don't know. But I want to talk about it, and I'm not even sure at this moment who my guest will be to discuss that issue. But that was the big breaking. Look, it's kind of funny to me that the administration still regards Friday night as a night to dump news in a 24/7 news cycle. I don't know that works. I don't know that you can hide a story on a Friday night any longer, because you've got all the cable channels, including my own, that are looking for news, and we're going to cover whatever it is, no matter when it happens. Survey question today at Smerconish.com. Let me just look it up on my laptop because I want to get the exact wording correct. TC, can you put it up on the screen here so that everybody can actually see it? I wanted to ask about mask wearing. I thought if I asked, let me just tell you the background. I thought that if today's survey question at the website asked whether masks should be required at a large event like tonight, required, not just recommended, I thought that'll get 100-0 vote, shouldn't it? 99-1, wouldn't you think? Maybe not, I don't know. But I wanted to make it clear that I'm talking about large gatherings, whether they are protests in the aftermath of the killing of George Floyd, or a candidate like the president who's gathering 19,000 people. So here's the way that it is. Here is the way that it is worded. Should masks be required, not just recommended, for large gatherings? Now here's the kicker. Be they political rallies or street protests. And my view of this is quite simple. If you are going to be a participant in a large event, I don't care what the event is. Doesn't matter to me if you're protesting or if you're showing up with your MAGA hat. You should be wearing a mask. And you should be wearing a mask not to protect yourself. I get manifest destiny. I get self-determination. I get individualism. That doesn't apply here. You're not wearing the mask for you. You're wearing the mask for me. So, to me, this is not a left-right thing. It's not a left-right thing. It's not an ideologically driven thing. It's just common sense. Until we have a vaccine, if you're going to be in a large crowd, if you're going to be out on the street today with a sign that says Black Lives Matter, surrounded by a lot of people, you should be wearing a mask. And if you're going to Tulsa tonight to support your president, you too should be wearing a mask. So I'm going to vote on the survey question at Smerconish.com. Should masks be required, not just recommended, for large gatherings, be they political rallies or street protests? Mine is a yes vote. Let's just see. Only a handful of votes have been recorded so far. Oh, it's pretty decisive. Less than 400 votes have been cast because we just posted it 10 minutes ago. All right, so I'm going to sign off. I've got a lot of work to do here because of the breaking news over Barr seeking to fire the U.S. Attorney. I need to make sure that I'm knowledgeable about that, and I hope that you will be tuned in to watch at 9 a.m. I can't thank you enough, folks, for being here. Hey, one last thing. One last thing, if you don't mind. While we have a nice, large sample, would you mind, give me a yay or nay, would you mind if down the road we migrated these Saturday morning briefings to YouTube? Would you mind if I moved over to YouTube on a future Saturday morning? I'd give you plenty of warning. There's no fee involved, no money, no nothing. It's just, click on a different. You're cool with that? Okay. The production values were so much better when I did a test the other day on that. All right. Well, thank you for that. Just a handful of naysayers from what I am seeing. Ladies and gentlemen, send you a box of tomatoes, says Steve. I don't have tomatoes to send you yesterday. All I've got are a lot of peas, and they are darn good. All right, I got to get back to work. I'll see you soon. 9 a.m.